Alrighty, so welcome to Leadership as a Philosophy, Not a Checklist. This is Army Leadership Manual Review number 5. Just as a quick funny aside, there's nothing more frustrating than doing a complete video and finding out that there was an error with your microphone. So you have to go back and redo it. So you're getting a well-rehearsed, hopefully, more coherent discussion. Anyway, all right. So 22-100, this one was done in 1973, and this one is, to me, has the starkest contrast so far. The first thing is there are some statements that are made in this manual that are excellent, and then there are some complete oversights. As with everything else, these are iterative, so if you want to make sure you understand some of the things that I skip, it's because they're from previous versions. So go watch those. Watch this one. I say that every time as a disclaimer. All right, so let's start off with the boldest statement so far. Since it was created in 1775, the U.S. Army has had effective leadership. You sure? There have been effective leaders in the United States Army, but they have not all been effective, right? If we go and look at some of the examples of the videos on this channel, those are guys, or those are leaders from different times in the U.S. military, and there were problems. So this is saying that all the leadership that we've had in the Army has been effective. No, incorrect. One thing that is nice about, they have a nice observation here. It says, regardless of how these people became to be good leaders, their actions reflected certain fundamental truths concerning the leadership of people. These truths have evolved into what we have come to know now as the principles of leadership, 11 basic guidelines which have stood the test of time for use in leading. And those are the same as in other documents, and they're very good. One thing that I just want to remind you, I don't know if I've said this in other versions, but when I was first reading through this, I couldn't understand that there was gaps in logic and there was inconsistencies and all this sort of stuff. And then I finally realized that, because I was in the Army, that this was probably given out to 10 or 15 different people to write little sections and put it all back together. But then nobody went through and unified it. So what you've got is a bunch of people's separate ideas that haven't been fused for consistency. So it's like the Rosetta Stone for trying to understand all this. So when we see things that don't make sense and don't match, it's because different people looked at it and didn't say, does this flow logically? All right, here we go. So these couple of paragraphs are actually quite good. Any mission-oriented organization that operates on the basis of authority vested in specific persons. True leadership, however, is the art of gaining influence with others without the exercise of physical force or reliance on authority. Stated another way, it is the ability to cause others to willingly accept specified goals as their own and to work wholeheartedly for the achievement of these goals. Great. I have no problems with that. One factor that affects a person's ability to gain influence with others is the position they hold within the group. However, with the authority associated with that position, together with. However, this is but a single element in the total leadership equation. Leadership that is based primarily on position and authority is lacking in empathy will in the long run prove ineffective. Truth. Absolutely. This is flawless. I have no arguments with that statement. And then this next paragraph. The military leader is ultimately responsible for any decisions that are made. Yes. They also must take into full account situational factors influencing the accomplishment of the mission. Fact. Consequently, there are times where he necessarily must be directive in his approach. Times, right? Because missions are accomplished by people, success or failure hinges generally on the leader's ability to identify intelligently with others, environment, and competence, understand the why of human behavior, environment, and translate that understanding into appropriate leadership techniques. A leader need not be a psychologist, but they must have a clear, valid understanding of his people and of their attitudes, aspirations, and motivations. To lead well, he must strive constantly to maintain the best possible balance between consideration of the needs and goals of his unit and the needs and goals of the men from whom it is comprised. So look, competence, environment, hierarchies, and goal. This is a perfect description of leadership. It's excellent. One quick note too, I apologize. I couldn't blow this up too big because the PDF, the way it was scanned, it gets super fuzzy if I make it any bigger. I still have it up just so you can see what I'm doing. So now let's scroll down to the introduction, purpose, and scope. Now, one of the problems I had with this manual is all of the cartoons. Everything's got an exclamation point. It's like everything being written in caps now. If you go back several decades in the Army, they have these technical manuals and maintenance manuals, and they are all written like comic books. And they sort of rolled that into here, but if we're going to take leadership seriously, I don't think we need the cartoons. Just my editor's note. So look here, accomplish the mission, minimum time, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. All right, another fantastic paragraph. Developing leadership ability is a twofold task. The first task, that of learning the principles and techniques of leadership and the aspects of human behavior, can be accomplished in an academic environment through the use of textbooks, case studies, and role-playing exercises. Yes. Remember we said that. You can send anybody to leadership school, right? You can teach anybody the steps. You can, absolutely. You can give somebody a written test. The second task, that of applying what has been learned, can take place only in the real-world environment. The two tasks complement and reinforce each other. The leader, after studying, can apply their knowledge in the unit, whether in the field or garrison. If situations arise which present them with difficulty, they should return to their texts, get guidance from superiors, and discuss the problem with others. Only in this way can they profit fully from their experience and achieve maximum improvement. True! So you can teach, but then they have to go apply. Here's the problem, and this is sort of where the personality or the characteristics come in, the 4 pillars. It takes somebody with humility, integrity, vigilance, and empathy to realize that they have a problem, to be able to go to their boss and say, I need help, to go to their peers and say, I'm having a problem, and then to try to solve the situation, and then come up with a creative solution. That's the talent. Apologize, had to sneeze. So then it says, at the same time they're learning about human behavior and how to apply that knowledge, the leader must increase their technical proficiency. In the long run, professional job competence is an absolute prerequisite to truly effective leadership and to gaining influence with subordinates, peers, and superiors. Only through the simultaneous development of this skill in both areas can the leader mold people for whom he is responsible into a willing, responsive, motivated team. So then it goes on. It says down here, in order to achieve this potential, the junior leaders must be given the opportunity to make mistakes, blah, blah, blah. So this describes you can't have a zero defects military. You can't have any screw up is bad. One of the great lines I heard, or maybe I don't know if I copied it from somebody, so it's not mine, but I've said it a bunch, which is, okay, you goofed. What's the lesson? What did you learn from your mistake? Key, right? So this whole thing is beautiful. This is amazing. All right. Now we're going to scroll down to leadership fundamentals. Then this is where we get all goofy, right? Now we're going to have different definitions of command, leadership, and management. This snuck in 1965. Why the heck are we putting management in a leadership document? All right. So same contradiction here that existed in 1965. Command is the authority of a person in military service lawfully exercises over subordinates by virtue of their rank and assignment. So remember that. So commander, sure. When we go and look at the definition of leadership, it says leadership is the person is controlling people in such a way to accomplish the mission. Well, why do we need two different things? The commander and the leader should be the same thing. But where we get messy is management. Okay. Management is defined as the process of planning, organizing, coordinating, directing, and controlling resources such as men, material, time, and money to accomplish the organizational mission. Why do we have management in a leadership document? I said it already. All those things that were just described are the environment. So you're attuning all of these things. That's the operational environment. So yeah, you have to manage resources, but that's part of the job. That's part of getting the operational environment prepared. So you're not just a manager if you are in a leadership position. Now, you might be the supply guy. You might be the commo guy or girl. You might be any one of these key individuals, and you're in charge of those resources. So fine, you're a manager, if that's what you want to call it. But we only put leadership positions and command positions. That's the whole thing. Competence, environment, goal. This is just the operational environment. As you can tell, I get feisty about this stuff. Whoops. So, leadership. The process of influencing men in such a manner to accomplish the mission. Okay, then fine. If that's what the commander's doing, then why do we need two definitions? All right. So this little paragraph right here, I'm not going to read it out loud. It makes me laugh because it says at the lower level, you do more leadership than management. And then at the higher level, you do more management than leadership. Is that a fact? No, I disagree. It's the way that it seems like it happens in all organizations, including, civilian organizations. But that's where things are falling apart. That's why I say in the solution, we have to have leaders at every level. So you've got a team leader or somebody that's in charge of 4 to 5 people. So they've got direct contact, but they also have to make sure they've got all the resources they need to do the job. So they're doing operational environment stuff, management. You go up to a higher level, and as I've talked about a million times, the higher up you go in the organization, the more you need to check. So I need this done. I've got a staff to go do it. Then you're the leader. You go off and start checking. I need to go check on things. I need to go see what's going on. So you still are the leader. Because if you just look at yourself as a manager, then you stop taking responsibility for all the actions that have happened at the lower level. In this example here, I just love. For example, mechanized infantry battalion commander, just a unit of 500 people with a bunch of equipment, or an organization, a company of 500 people. Responsible for a large number of vehicles of various types. You cannot personally supervise all aspects of maintenance program. Of course not. That's why you have subordinate leaders. They can, by working through the motor officer and other subordinates, ensure that the vehicles are maintained. Commander manages the vehicle resources through their chain of command and their staff. Battalion commander ensures all this is done by personal spot checks, reports, and inspections. So what we just said. So they are going out and checking. You still are doing leadership. You still should go down and check a vehicle. Why? Because then everybody knows that you care. But if you don't go check, then you are just a manager. And then everything goes to crap because you're not paying attention. Sorry, I'm getting feisty. Also because I've done this twice today. All right, so I love this one here. So this is the same leadership traits, and I'm going to show kind of a big contradiction and something that bugs me a lot. You are those that have been watching, you're already going to know where this is going. Okay, when a study of personalities of a group of successful leaders was conducted some time ago, 14 traits were identified as common to the group. Possession of these traits by itself does not guarantee success, but apparently they are most desirable in all leaders. So remember, I think it's in 1951, where I showed that all of these directly equate to humility, integrity, empathy, and vigilance. Maybe it was the 58. Right? So if you have those characteristics, you're not going to be bad. You're not going to be great. You're not going to be a good leader. You're not going to be bad. Somebody like this is not going to goof things up too badly. Okay? So just something about that. So then we're going to go through and look at some of these. So here's bearing. I just love, these cartoons. They're just so cheesy. Now, I'm going to show you a pretty big inconsistency. All right? So this is courage. A leader who has moral courage will admit their errors, but will enforce their decisions when they are sure they're correct. To help attain and demonstrate courage, the leader should study and understand their reactions to fear and control their fear by developing self-discipline and calmness. They must be orderly in their thought process and take care not to exaggerate adversity. They must stand for what is right in the face of popular disagreement and accept blame where they're at fault. So I put integrity down. Yeah, it says it's courage, but really it's integrity, right? And then we've got decisiveness. I don't understand what's this have to do with endurance? Looks like both these guys are going to pass out. Dependability. Dependability is the proper performance of duty. Skip ahead. This willing and voluntary support of the policies and orders of the chain of command does not mean blind obedience. Okay, good. I'm on board. Integrity. The uprightness and soundness of moral principles, the quality of truthfulness and honesty describe integrity. In the military, the lives of thousands are placed in the hands of a few leaders. These leaders must have unquestionable integrity. Honesty, sense of duty, moral principles must be placed above all else. Reports from the small unit leader to the highest headquarters must contain true facts because the seemingly unimportant report might have great effect. Sound estimation and planning at high levels are impossible without accurate information supplied through the chain of command. A leader who proves himself unreliable or of unquestionable integrity has no place in the military. I agree. This is great. What is funny, though, is that so it talks here about integrity, we talk about courage, but then there's a whole chapter on ethics. Let's just use integrity. Judgment is the ability to logically weigh facts. Anticipation of situations, avoidance of hasty decisions, and the application of common sense will ensure success in most situations where the leader is confronted. All right. Come down here and look at this. Loyalty to a commander. So we've got the loyalty one again. Loyalty to a commander is often erroneously viewed as an indicative of being a yes man. Total agreement with every order is seldom experienced through the military career. The good leader does not allow their personal opinion to interfere with their mission, nor do they give the impression of disagreement. They view their orders as their superior's method of dealing with the situation. As a leader, it is important to have every action reflect loyalty to subordinates to the unit superiors in the Army. So he just said, don't be a yes man. But then in the next thing we say, follow the rules. Okay, so we'll come back to knowledge. Loyalty. Loyalty is the quality of faithfulness to the country, the Army's senior subordinates, and we did loyalty. Now, I'm going to skip ahead real quick to ethics, because you just heard what we said. Moral integrity, make sure you're doing the right thing. Make sure that you're looking at doing the right thing above all else. And then we come down to ethics. I apologize. We're skipping around just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. Why should we be concerned about ethics? So like I said, this should really just be extended. During the Vietnam conflict, stories were televised over national newscasts and printed in many of our newspapers, which emphasized alleged misconduct and unethical practices of several high-ranking officers and non-commissioned officers. This bad publicity has caused many American citizens to wonder whether or not our military profession has any ethical standards or professional codes to guide our conduct. And then down here a little bit further, if leaders really examine their actions critically, they would not measure up very well against the professional code. So I'm just going to lay this on the line. This is 1973. The My Lai massacre trial had concluded in 1971. There were 34 officers and NCOs that were charged. Go back and watch my video on it. 14 of them were convicted, and then a whole bunch of their charges were dropped. One person was finally given jail, and then the president acquitted him. Go back and look at integrity. If somebody's lying, they have no place in the Army. So all 34 of those people should have been fired. They filed false reports. They covered things up. They did all this other sort of stuff. When it came to actually doing the thing, they were choosing to follow the boss, being a yes man, instead of doing the right thing, saying that they weren't going to kill children and women and old men. And it says alleged. There was a trial and people were convicted. There was all sorts of evidence. There were videos. There was pictures. And here the Army in their own doctrine says, there was some alleged stuff. So then here we go. So now I've said that. Now I'm going to look over here at this. We find times when such things as personal ambition, convenience, avarice, or prejudices conflict with what we know as ethical behavior. It takes great strength of character and personal integrity to live by a code of conduct which is completely ethical. However, we are fortunate that most of our leaders do. These are recognized and respected for their ethical practices. Their followers gain confidence in the knowledge that their leaders can be trusted to do the right thing. This enhances the leader's ability to lead by setting good example and by engendering mutual confidence. And yet we're just going to lie in writing. All right, so I'm going to look at this knowledge really quick. This is just another interesting thing, because I agree with the premise, but then how are you going to do it? So the leader should develop a program of learning to keep themselves abreast of current developments in the military specialty, command policies, and local and world communities. Field manuals, training directives, after-action reports, Department of the Army reading lists, magazine, newspapers, and periodicals are valuable aids towards this goal. Serious discussion, research, and experience also contribute to broadening the leader's knowledge. So here's my problem. If you've got somebody in a leadership position and they're doing it right, it consumes you. It takes a lot of your energy. It takes a lot of your focus. It takes a lot of your brain power. So how do you give somebody time to go and read and study and do all this stuff? Well, and it's expensive. It's going to be expensive, but it will work in your organization, military or civilian. Put somebody in charge for 2 to 3 years. Then you say you're done. Go take a break. Go away. Disappear. You got 5 months or 4 or whatever makes sense. I would say 3 to 4 months. And you say, hey, here's a couple of new books that have been written. Here's some history stuff we'd like you to study. If you get a chance, maybe write down some notes on what you think you did right and wrong during your time. And then you let them go. And they don't have any responsibility. So they go relax, they rest, they recharge, they read, they get some time to think. And then because the thing that they're the best at is being in charge or being a leader, you bring them back. They've had some time to study, they've had some more time to learn, and you go put them in charge again. And then you keep growing, you keep doing that sort of stuff. You get their knowledge, you share that with the next group. And then you also do the thing that we talked about with knowledge where, once a quarter, once a semester, you get whatever group of leaders that you can together and you have the lowest ones first. Here's 3 things I did right and here's 3 things I did wrong. Non-attribution. And as they go up and you keep going to the next level, the big boss might find out that they put out bad poop or they gave bad guidance or they weren't clear on something. So then the leader gets up and says, well, the big boss, I was going to say the 3 things that I did wrong, but it turns out I have to add 2 more because half of you were all confused on this and I thought it was perfectly clear. So I'm going to fix that and I'm going to fix this. But that takes humility, integrity, empathy. Anyway, this is great. I would love to. I wish that when I was in the Army and even during a couple other jobs that I had the time to, hey, you've done this, take a break, and then you can either maybe come back or you just go somewhere else in the company. And you're just a leader type and you just go around and do that sort of stuff because that's the thing that you're the best at. Anyway, now, these leadership principles, these are great. These are great for civilian and they're great for the military. You could write these down and make it something that all leaders should do. Know yourself and seek self-improvement. We talked about that. Be technically and tactically proficient, so know your job. You don't have to be the expert at the job, but you need to know it enough to be proficient, right? Seek responsibility, take responsibility, make sound and timely decisions, set the example, know your people and look out for their welfare. Keep your people informed, yes. Develop a sense of responsibility, which means share. Ensure that the task is understood, supervised, and accomplished. Vigilance. Train your unit as a team, or train your team as a team, whatever, and employ your organization in accordance with its capabilities. Flawless victory, right? Those are all. They just need to be done. So I'm going to scroll down real quick and see if I missed anything after the ethics. Yeah, the ethics discussion bothers me because everybody knows the right thing. And then you come down here to The indicators of leadership. And we talked about those before, but those are at the very end of the decision-making process. This is a great one. I forgot about this real quick. Decision-making process. Identify the problem. Gather information. Develop course of action. Analyze the course of action. Select course of action and implement. This is the problem right here. Identify the problem. There are too many times people get in a hurry and identify the wrong problem and don't go to the roots of the problem. Or they think that their solution is going to be the thing that fixes all of it when there's still 7 other things. You got to keep going. And maybe the higher command is part of the problem. I guess I can close with this last thing, which I thought was kind of fun. Skills of leadership. Sound leadership is not based on guesswork or native ability. Its fundamentals can be analyzed and cultivated by most men. In fact, this manual is based on the belief that intuitive leadership alone is not sufficient. The leader can improve their performance through study, analysis of their own leadership behavior, and practice. Really? And the reason I say that is if you go all the way back up to the beginning, it says, hey, do this, do your homework, then you go out and do your stuff, and then you analyze it. It takes a person who has the right characteristics to do that, not most. As we've said, it's rare. And then the indicators of leadership, there are 4 characteristics, analyze a unit. We know that already. Anyway, I thought this one was interesting because it had some really excellent points. And then it had that complete inconsistency in, I mean, they even lied about something that factually happened and said it was all alleged. Makes me crazy. Anyway, I hope that you're enjoying this. I'm finding it fascinating because you can see where things start getting confused and muddled. And if people were actually teaching this, you think they would have fixed it. But I don't even know if they were teaching this the right way. I don't even know if it was being internalized because this should all have been corrected. Anyway, this time with sound. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this. And if you've made it this far in the video, as always, I appreciate your attention. And I hope you have a great day.